Have liquor store owners burnt too many bridges? Welcome back to That Bourbon Dude. My name is Charles. Today we're going to talk about a topic that I don't think has ever been discussed on the internet as far as whiskey tube. I've never seen anyone write about it, and it kind of hits home for me because I own a whiskey consulting business that deals with this on a day-to-day basis. And the question that I keep getting over and over again from whiskey store, liquor store owners, did I burn too many bridges? So let's dive into that today. But before I do that, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe these videos. Make sure we're getting it out to the right audience. As everyone knows, whiskey content is being suppressed. So let's keep pushing it out to the people who actually care about whiskey content. And one other thing I want to mention is we do have our Whiskey Wednesday meetup. It's going to be May 20th, starting at 5:30 p.m. at MB Roland Distillery. It's going to be a lot of fun. Disc golf, food trucks, cigars, flights, local beers. I'm going to be there hanging out. You don't want to miss it. There could be some surprises up my sleeve if I had sleeves, right? So be there or be square. Information you need is down in the description. Let's jump into it, guys. Long topic, a lot of stuff to cover. So those of you who don't know, I am the founder and CEO of Kentucky Barrel Pickers. Most people think of us as just a barrel picking company, but that is actually just a very, very small part of what we do, actually about 20%. We handle a lot of stuff from consulting with stores, brands, a lot of things like that. We do social media marketing for them, marketing campaigns, billboard designs. We handle everything you can think of, all the way down to point of sale systems at their stores, store design, rebranding, relaunching, everything. So those that think we're just a barrel picking company, we do a lot of stuff, guys. So let me tell you what's been going on over the last, it's been like 3 months. Oh, hold on. Someone's going to ask, this is a Green River pick that I did in collaboration with a store in Georgia, McFarland's. Check them out. Matter of fact, you definitely need to check them out because they just posted that they're doing 10% off on picks, and you get double points at that store and Georgia Liquor Barn, which is their sister store. Go check them out on Facebook. Hell of a selection and picks that I've done. So get over there, check them out. All right. Someone's going to ask 122.2 proof. Okay. All right. So let's get into this before it gets too crazy. So I've been consulting for quite a long time, and stores over the last about 3 months, we've seen like a massive drop in their sales, and they're trying to figure out what to do. How do we recover from it? And a store owner yesterday was sitting in his office talking business, and he just looked me in the eyes and he said, "Did I burn too many bridges with my prices during COVID?" And that is a very, very powerful question to be asking, because you have to really look at a lot of things. You got to look at what you did prior to COVID. Did you have a strong customer base that was incredibly loyal to your store? And then when COVID came around and the whiskey industry took a massive bull run up a hill, and things were getting more difficult to obtain, more people started drinking. And did you take advantage of those customers and jack up your prices for the sake of profit? And you didn't really think about the long-term effects of your decision. A lot of stores right now are seeing that play out right before their eyes. Matter of fact, there's a couple stores that opened in this area that opened maybe 6 months before COVID happened, and they were on this massive bull run, expanding. I know that the owner purchased a home, multiple new vehicles, was making an insane amount of money, and now he's making about 30% of what he was during that same time period. And it's not because the market has dropped 70%. It's that he run off a lot of his customers and they never came back after COVID. But I digress. The other guy I'm speaking of, we were sitting down yesterday. He is trying to figure out the process of regaining the trust of the community. He is in a community that only has just a couple stores, so it's not like they have a lot of places to shop. The other two stores in their community is owned by one individual, and his business is doing incredibly well. He is a customer of mine, a client, and I have worked with him diligently over the last couple years, getting everything in order. And just like the gentleman I'm speaking of, he had the same opportunities to make corrections early, but was high on the horse and was really enjoying all that extra money coming in. And now that it's not, he has had to lay off all of his employees other than himself, his father, and his wife. And they're running the store together. It is his store. He took it over from his father about 10 years ago, and now it is at the verge of collapse. And sitting there in his office watching him talk about the things that he has done for the sake of profit has got me really thinking about the industry in general and how I guess maybe all the stores may be coming to the same realization. Just for my business alone, we've had 6 stores over the last 3 months talking the same story, maybe not with the same words, but experiencing the same issue and concern that they may have run off their loyal customer base. They don't know how to recover from it. I think it's important for people to take responsibility for their actions, and sometimes that means being public with taking responsibility. One of the stores that I have been working with, one of his things that we discussed, and he's decided that he wanted to move forward with it. And when it came down to it, he decided he couldn't go through with it. It was going to be too big of an ego hit. And that was simply posting a 1 or 2 minute video on his Facebook page telling his customers he was sorry for what he had done and that he apologized. But we filmed it. Everything was good to go. He could not bring himself to hit send and post that video. Ego has gotten in the way of that gentleman. Very, very disappointed. We did find out that he has filed for bankruptcy only 6 weeks after. We didn't know at the time that he was in that much financial stress. It was a new client of ours, and he did not disclose his financial records with us. The individual that I started working with yesterday is not in that level of trouble yet, but he does understand that at this point, monthly, he's losing about a 0.25% of business, and it is continued at that same trajectory for about the last 6 months. And if it continues for another 6 months, we're going to be hitting kind of that even point on his margins where after he pays everything, there's not going to be any money left to pay himself, his wife, or father helping at the store. So I kind of want to ask the question to the whiskey community, the whiskey world, if you will. Do you think stores kind of went overboard with that pricing and took advantage of the customers, and now they are unwilling to kind of dial back to the original pre-COVID model that we were in with maybe slightly elevated prices, but definitely not walking in and paying $450 or $500 for a Stag Junior like we have seen in the past, still seeing in some markets. I know that we have seen quite a bit of a drop in my local market, We just had a discussion with some admins today of one of my groups that we're seeing a lot of Antique 107 now hitting the market at about $85 on secondary to the house. I think it's like $67 or $68 out the door at Buffalo Trace for that product. If you're picking it up from the gift shop, we're looking at like a $20 difference on that bottle, secondary to retail. That is return to pre-COVID levels. Are we going to see it on everything? No, absolutely not. Do you guys think that these stores took so much from us during COVID that we not only do we not have respect for the store, we don't feel like patroning the store at all, even if we're buying shelfers? And then the other thing is, a lot of stores are asking about point systems, loyalty systems, how to get allocated products out to their customers in a fair way. I made a post about this on my Facebook page. You guys should definitely take a look at it. A lot of really good comments. Like I've mentioned many times before, there is not a good system to get allocated products out. You're either going to have to hurt a lot of people's hearts or hurt no one's heart and just sell them yourself to your friends and just avoid the whole conversation with your customers. But the customers are the one that's bringing the bottles in. People say, oh, well, they're not entitled to it. Well, that's kind of true, but kind of not true at the same time. Without those customers, you wouldn't get anything. So you kind of owe them a little bit of grace on getting those bottles to these people who are coming in the doors. And I hear the argument a lot about how your top spenders should be the one that gets these bottles. And I don't think I agree with that. And here's why. Your top spenders are not buying the bottles that are required to bring in these allocated products. They're buying very expensive whiskeys, wines, tequilas, things like that. Sure, you may have spent $10,000, but only one or two of those points of the money you spent is going to even help bring in any bottles. It's Jimbo that's buying his Fireball every morning before he goes to work is the guy who really brought it in. Now, granted, he may not even know that these products exist, but I know that there's a lot of people who buy Fireball. They buy Wheatley. I buy a ton of Wheatley vodka. I love to make my martinis with it. It's an excellent product, super sweet on the profile. So when you're doing like a dirty martini, it balances out really well. It's been my go-to vodka for a very, very long time. But I also buy allocated stuff and then regular shelf bottles on top of that. Now, the people who are just buying, Fireball and they don't give a crap about anything else, so be it. It's fine. But those top spenders are really not contributing at all, if any, to bringing in those allocated products. It's the guys who are buying the cheaper stuff, the people who are buying the vodka. Now, I've seen a lot of comments saying they're the ones that should be entitled to these bottles. But you didn't help bring them in, so why should you get first shot at any of them? It's the mid-level guys who are buying their shelfers there, and the people who are buying the lower end products are the ones that are really the top contributors that are getting these products into your store. Now, this all ties back into the original story because the gentleman who has reached out to us for assistance has got a lot of inventory of allocated products that he wants to get into the market. He's not really sure that he's going to be able to get customers in the door because they know how over the top the prices were. So he's setting on his last year, end of year allocations. And then for the last few months, he's collected stuff. And I think he has around 150 or 200 bottles available. But I asked the gentleman, I said, what are the prices we're looking at that you're wanting to put these out there? And that's where this dilemma comes in because he needs money but also he needs to price these things in a way that's going to make the customers return. He's run off a majority of his loyal customer base, and now he's in a spot where he can't afford the things that he needs to be affording, but he's sitting on inventory that he knows that he could raise the price and somebody might buy it. He could sell it on secondary, which I don't know that he knows how. He's a fairly older gentleman, which we don't like secondary here. And I don't really like the idea of stores doing that. I know lots of stores that do. I know they have a backdoor guy that runs all their bottles out. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you know somebody that does that for a store. But he is at a point where he doesn't know how to price this to get it in, to get people to come back in, to regain their trust. I mentioned selling everything at a 30% margin, like we used to do pre-COVID, and then just pairing it with a shelf bottle. Nothing astronomically priced, a shelf bottle, something in that $30 to $60 range, but pair it based on the level of allocation. So your low and mid-level allocations would have a certain bottle or bottles to choose from, so they could buy 2 bottles. And then when you get into like your BTAC and Pappy, maybe you would need to get a higher level or multiples of something. I mean, I don't think anyone would be mad buying 2 $60 bottles and then paying $350 for a Pappy 20. That's still massively under secondary. It helps the store out, and it moves some inventory. So he's at a spot he thinks that he knows what he's going to do, but I want you guys to weigh in. This is important feedback for me because I want to be able to show these comments to the store owners that you guys still care about the stores, but you got to treat them right. The customer is paying the bills for your store. It might be your inventory, but if you can't sell it, what does it really matter?